So this is turn 5 in Invasion Pearl Harbor. It's now December 8th, 1941 in the morning. And this is the first turn that introduces the air and naval phases, which take place off-map. And there are several decisions that have to be made by each side, but there will be a carrier warfare phase and a submarine warfare phase added to the game turns. So during the carrier warfare phase, the Japanese player secretly decides which naval units to deploy in the Imperial Japanese Navy close-in box and also the naval distant box. So placing units close in will allow them to be used to support the invasion ground force, but it also places the ships in danger from American naval and air units. So why is this important? Well, Imperial Japanese Navy ship losses will deduct victory points. So we've got to be careful about losing these. But at this point, the Japanese commander isn't worried about the American Navy. So he deploys both of his battleships, the Hiei and the Kirishima, in the close-in box. And this is going to allow them to barrage the island. And then 6 carriers are also deployed close in, which will allow all of their aircraft to strike the American positions as well. Now, the American player has the Lexington out to sea, so this is one of our carriers, but the Enterprise is going to be deployed in the United States Navy close-in box. Also, I have the U.S. Army Air Force deploy its air units in the aircraft available box, so this should be interesting. Since both sides have a carrier in close, I'm going to have to resolve the carrier warfare phase, and this is a table that is consulted and by rolling the dice, but there is no carrier combat this time. Then we go to the submarine warfare phase, so the U.S. submarines can make an attack. And I basically roll 2 dice, and if I roll a 3 or an 11, I get a hit. But this time I rolled a 9, so it's a miss. We now go to the activation phases, and what ended up happening is the Japanese commander usurped the U.S. activation and conducted a combat phase, which he can do. And so attacks are launched against Honolulu. You can see the lineup in the picture against Honolulu. The Japanese Army, which are the orange units, attack the northern part of Honolulu, and 4 airstrikes are called in from the Japanese carriers, but the U.S. Army Air Force is supporting the defenders with their P-40s. Since the Japanese have attacked a city, Hex, in Honolulu, there is a rule to check for the EC rebellion. So, this is something we don't really know what would have happened, but it's supposed that some of the first generation Japanese that lived in Honolulu might have formed some sort of a rebellion during a land attack. The game puts this in here with a set of rules. So I have to roll a die to check for the EC rebellion, but there was no effect this time. So the attack is resolved at 3-1, and the U.S. 25th Infantry Division there loses 2 units, and the Japanese force also suffers a step loss. If there would have been a rebellion, I'll add that it basically negates the American defense factor in the Honolulu hexes for, I think, the rest of the game. So you don't want that rebellion to happen, but the Japanese certainly do. Next, I have the Marines, which are the red units, attack into one of the Honolulu hexes on the left side. And I also have the American carrier-based aircraft flying in to support the defense. Since it's another attack on Honolulu, I have to roll for the EC rebellion. There is none again. And both sides end up taking a step loss, but the Americans remain in control of Honolulu. Then there's one more attack that is launched against the American troops in the mountain range. And the Japanese battleships are called in to support that assault. So I have two carrier-based aircraft units that I also call in to support that. And so the assault is resolved at 3-to-1 odds. And the U.S. 25th Infantry Division loses two more companies, but one continues to hold out its position, further delaying the Marines in the Koolau mountain range. Since the battleship fired in support of ground operations, the American carrier-based aircraft decide to conduct a mission against those ships. But they don't get any hit numbers, so that attack ends up failing. The Americans choose an activation chit. It's the 24th Infantry, so they continue to move. And they've got several units deployed in the fort, and others are trying to take up positions in Pearl Harbor itself. And the rest of the 24th Infantry is left behind to defend Wheeler Field and the Schofield Barracks. Then the United States Marine Corps moves some of its units eastward, and at least one gets to the outskirts of the Honolulu hex. You can see that in the picture there, the dark blue unit. And then finally, the 25th Infantry's company that was left in the mountains decides to get away, and it flees to Honolulu area to assist in the defense there. Then I continued to have the 25th Infantry units move in to pack the Honolulu hexes with as much defense as possible. Then the Japanese take their movement phase, and so the commander has the Marines move all of the available forces up against Honolulu, while the commander of the Army, which are the orange units, continue to cover their flank. I will add that the Japanese have suffered some heavy losses so far, and the U.S. 25th Infantry Division has lost 14 companies that have been taken out of the fight. This is going to bring the turn to an end. The Japanese still maintain 7 victory points, and as you can see, this is how the turn ends with this last picture that I have here, and that brings an end to turn 5, which is the first turn, the morning turn of December 8th, 1941. Stay tuned if you'd like to see what happens on turn 6. Have a great day.